Hello, church family. I'm here in Tokyo. I'm actually at Shibuya, where they've got Shibuya Crossing. You can see there, people are crossing the street. They've got 2 million people a day who cross the street here. It's the busiest pedestrian crossing in the world. And then behind me, you've got the famous dog statue of Hachiko. You can see him there, a dog who would come every day to the station, the Shibuya station, and wait for his master as his master went to work. And he'd stay here all day. And one day, sadly, his master died at work. But the dog just stayed here, waiting for his master to come back for years. And they made a couple movies about it, including one with Liam Neeson. And so it's famous for that. But I'm here in Tokyo and have had a good trip so far. It's been extremely busy. Yesterday, for example, I had a meeting at 8 a.m. and I got done with my day at 10:30 p.m. So 14 and a half hours and just meetings with all kinds of exciting people, a lot of international church pastors. I got to meet my very first meeting, got off the plane, and I went straight to a lunch with Steve Yamaguchi. He's a pastor of Tokyo Union Church. I was supposed to meet with him in 2020 in March when I was here. Those of you who've been in the church a while will remember I was here when COVID broke out. And so those meetings got canceled, and it was just a crazy time. COVID got to Norway while I was here, and so you may remember I sent a video from Japan that we played in church as we figured out how we were going to respond to COVID as a church. Anyway, just crazy times. So glad 3 years later, I never thought it would take 3 years, but 3 years later, here I am back in Tokyo and able to have those meetings, able to finally meet with Steve. I'm very thankful for that. Also got to meet with pastors of other churches, looking at ways to partner. I had a really exciting meeting yesterday morning with Boeing's representative here in Japan, and he's trying to reach young professionals. And so he's a tent maker. I mean, he works for Boeing. He represents them to ANA, the largest Japanese airline. But his goal is he's a tent maker. And how can he reach young professionals? And so we're talking about ways to partner, and we're looking at bringing Richard Blackaby here, who does training, leadership training with business leaders of Fortune 500 companies, to do it with Japanese business leaders. And so we're excited about that potential and what that could mean. And so actually, I texted Richard yesterday, and I said, hey, Richard, are you interested in coming to Tokyo and Japan and doing this? And I told him I met with this guy from Boeing that was talking about that. And Richard said, hey, funny thing, I just got your text after getting off the elevator with the former CEO of Boeing. So I kind of want to think that that's a sign from God there, that maybe God's up to something. So we're going to see how that develops. This guy with Boeing, Mark, is putting me in touch with the leader of the Christian Business Association here in Japan. They have chapters in Tokyo and Osaka. So look, I mean, this will be somewhere down the road, but just exciting to see what God will do here. This is the second largest unreached nationality on earth. The largest is the Bangladeshis, and the Japanese are the second largest, 125 million or so people, and is considered an unreached people group. And yet we're seeing God do things, especially through international churches. Many, probably most of the international churches are now 50% or more Japanese. It's incredible. The largest churches with the largest population of Japanese in churches are actually in international churches. Most Japanese churches are actually much, much smaller. And so it's really interesting to see how God's using the international churches to reach the locals here. And so tomorrow, or today when you see this video, I'll be preaching at Tokyo International Christian Fellowship Church in Ikebukuro, which is a few stations north of here. And it's where Hideki Ui and Yumi, his wife, they're coming on staff there to lead the English-speaking congregation. The church has two congregations. One does Japanese English translations, and one does Chinese and Japanese translations. So trying to reach Chinese immigrants as well as English-speaking internationals. And so Hideki and Yumi will be responsible for the English/Japanese services and reaching those English speakers, as they've spent over 20 years now doing English-speaking international church ministry in countries in Southeast Asia. And now they're back here in their home country in this new role, although it's a new city for them. Hideki is from Kobe. Yumi is from a little town, a little village out in the country. So Tokyo is a big change for them, being the largest city in the world, 36 million plus people in the urbanized area of Tokyo and Yokohama. So please be praying for them. By the time you see this, we'll have already done the service, and we'll have them installed in that position. Excited to see what God's going to do through this new church and this new outreach. As the church is new, the senior pastor started it during COVID after he was kicked out of China, and that's why he's doing the Chinese outreach. He's Japanese, but he speaks Mandarin as he spent over 20 years in another church I'm very familiar with. It's had a big part in MICN, which is Beijing International Christian Fellowship. So he came here and he started this church. Now he brought Hideki on, who used to be on my leadership team from MICN, to be his the English-speaking pastor. So anyway, really excited about that. Thank you for your prayers. Really look forward to seeing you guys again. I should be back tomorrow in time for dinner, and see you all next Sunday if I don't see you at something like men's group or Awana before then. God bless you all and take care.